Picture this. It's late at night. Not the peaceful kind of late, but the heavy kind. The world outside has gone quiet, yet inside your head, everything is loud. The room is dim, maybe lit by a small lamp or the glow from your phone. You're holding it in your hand, not because a message just came in, but because some part of you still hopes one might. You scroll. Nothing. You lock the screen, then unlock it again, as if time might have changed its mind. You lean back and exhale slowly. Your chest feels tight. Your thoughts keep circling the same place. I tried. I really tried. You listened. You adjusted. You held back your ego. You cared in ways no one ever taught you how to care. And still, she feels far away now, emotionally gone, even if she's still physically present. You start replaying everything, that one conversation, that one message you maybe shouldn't have sent, that moment you sensed distance and asked, "Are we okay?" You remember the look in her eyes, not angry, not sad, just different, polite, detached. And that look hurt more than any argument ever could, because it made you realize something was already slipping. You wonder when it started. Was it when you began explaining yourself too much? When you stopped standing your ground just to keep the peace? When her mood started deciding whether your day would be good or bad? You tell yourself you were being loving, understanding, mature. But deep down, there's a quiet fear forming. What if being more wasn't what she needed? Here's the truth that's hard to swallow but impossible to ignore. Women don't just listen to what you say, they feel who you are. She didn't pull away because of one mistake. She didn't change because of one argument. She felt something shift long before you noticed it. A subtle change in your energy, in your certainty, in the way you carried yourself. And once that feeling changed, no amount of explaining could fix it. This video isn't here to blame you. It's here to wake you up. Because what you're feeling right now, this confusion, this quiet self-doubt, this sense of loss, is the moment where most men either break or finally see the truth. And what you're about to hear might hurt, but it might also be the first honest thing anyone has ever told you. It's late at night, the kind of night where the world feels paused, but your mind refuses to be quiet. The room is dark except for a weak light in the corner, and you're sitting there with your thoughts, replaying moments you could erase or at least understand. Your phone is in your hand, not because you're expecting a message, but because part of you still hopes for one. And the question keeps circling in your head, slow and painful. How did it end up like this? You remember how it started. The way she looked at you. The way conversations flowed effortlessly. The way you felt chosen. At that time, you weren't trying. You were just being. Calm, grounded. Certain of who you were and where you were going. And somehow, without effort, she leaned in. She listened. She smiled differently. She felt close. Then something changed. Not suddenly. Not dramatically, slowly, quietly. You began to care more, and that sounds like a good thing, doesn't it? Caring more is supposed to be love. Caring more is what you were taught to do. So you listened harder, you adjusted more, you explained yourself more clearly. You tried to remove every possible misunderstanding, every possible reason she might feel uncomfortable. You thought love was built by eliminating friction, but friction is not the enemy of attraction. What no one prepared you for is this truth. Attraction does not grow from effort alone. It grows from emotional gravity, and gravity comes from stability. Every woman carries within her a deeply embedded system, older than logic, older than words. It lives in her nervous system, not her conscious thoughts. She doesn't wake up and analyze you like a checklist. She feels you. She senses your emotional state the way the body senses temperature, automatically, instantly, without permission. You may think weakness is something obvious, crying, begging, falling apart, but weakness rarely announces itself. It leaks, it shows up in hesitation, in over-explaining, in the way you ask for reassurance instead of trusting your own ground, in the way your mood depends on whether she replied quickly or not. Her brain is not judging you morally, it's evaluating safety, stability, predictability under pressure. When you apologize too quickly, her nervous system hears uncertainty. When you ask her to reassure you, it senses dependence. When you reshape yourself to avoid conflict, it registers instability. And instability to her biology is danger. Not danger in the sense of harm, but danger in the sense of collapse. A man who cannot regulate himself emotionally cannot be relied upon when life becomes heavy. and life always becomes heavy. This is why she pulls back without knowing exactly why. She may say she's confused. She might say she needs space. She might say she doesn't feel the same anymore. But beneath those words is a simple biological response. Her attraction no longer feels safe. You were told that vulnerability is attractive, and it is, but only when it rests on strength. Vulnerability without strength feels like exposure without protection. It feels like a man leaning on her to hold him up, and that weight over time becomes exhausting. Think about how often you tried to fix her emotions, how many times you felt responsible for her moods, how often you tried to calm storms that weren't yours to manage. You thought this was love. You thought this was emotional intelligence, but unconsciously, she felt burdened. Because when a man takes responsibility for emotions he cannot control, he loses respect for himself. And when he loses respect for himself, her instincts notice. Every woman tests emotional strength, not consciously, not cruelly, instinctively. A delayed reply, a subtle criticism, a moment of distance. She watches how you respond. Do you panic? Do you chase clarity? Do you spiral internally? Or do you remain steady? A weak man reacts immediately. A grounded man pauses. That pause is powerful. It signals self-control. It signals emotional containment. It tells her nervous system, this man is not ruled by fear, and fear is the enemy of attraction. You might believe that being available proves love, but availability without independence feels cheap. What is always accessible is rarely valued. This isn't cruelty. It's psychology. Scarcity creates meaning. Emotional self-sufficiency creates weight. This is why men who are always trying to prove themselves slowly disappear in a woman's eyes. Not because they aren't good enough, but because they give up their center. They make her the axis of their emotional world. And when that happens, polarity collapses. A man without polarity feels like responsibility, not desire. She doesn't wake up one morning and decide to lose attraction. Attraction erodes quietly. She becomes irritated by things she once found endearing. Your concern feels intrusive. Your kindness feels heavy. Your presence feels like pressure. And by the time you ask, can we talk? The emotional decision has already been made. This is the part that hurts the most. You didn't do anything wrong in the way you understand right and wrong. You were loyal, you were honest, you were present. But attraction does not operate on fairness. It operates on instinct. Her brain is designed to select stability. Emotional strength signals survival. Emotional dependence signals risk. Nature does not negotiate, it simply responds. Modern culture failed men by teaching them to abandon their inner authority. You were told to explain everything, to share everything, to soften everything, but no one taught you how to regulate yourself. No one taught you that masculine strength is not aggression or control. It is containment, the ability to hold emotion without being ruled by it. Real strength is sitting in uncertainty without begging for relief. Real strength is holding your ground without raising your voice. Real strength is letting someone walk away without losing your identity. This doesn't mean becoming cold. It doesn't mean suppressing emotion. It means building an internal spine, emotional independence, a sense of self that does not collapse when someone pulls away. Here is the painful paradox. The man who can survive loss is the man most likely to be desired, because he is not trying to extract value from a woman. He already has it. When you stop chasing validation, your presence changes. When your peace no longer depends on her reactions, your body language shifts. You speak slower, you move calmer, you stop performing, and suddenly you feel heavier in the room. That weight is what her instincts respond to. Women do not crave control. They crave containment. They want to feel that someone can hold pressure without breaking. When a man stands firmly inside himself, she doesn't feel dominated. She feels relieved, because someone else is finally stable enough to share space with. And if she leaves anyway, you don't collapse. You grieve, but you don't beg. You feel pain, but you don't chase. You lose, but you don't disappear. You remain whole. That is strength. This truth often arrives late, after confusion, after silence, after nights like this one, staring at a phone that doesn't light up anymore. But once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Attraction is not something you negotiate. It is something you embody. The moment you stop leaking weakness, the moment you rebuild your emotional center, the moment you learn to stand alone without fear, everything changes. not because you demanded it, not because you explained it. Before you leave this video, I want you to sit with something for a moment, not as a man trying to fix a relationship, but as a man trying to remember himself. If you've ever felt confused, rejected, or quietly replaced without a clear reason, know this: you are not invisible. You are not enough. You are simply giving from a place where you had stopped standing. This world never taught you how to build emotional strength. It only taught you how to please, explain, and sacrifice. And when that failed, it left you alone with questions and guilt that were never yours to carry. But here's the truth that matters now. You do not become valuable by being chosen. You become valuable by choosing yourself every day, even when it's uncomfortable. Especially when it's uncomfortable. Strength is not loud. It doesn't argue. It doesn't beg. It doesn't chase clarity from someone who has already decided. Strength is quiet. It's the man who can sit with pain without turning it into desperation. It's the man who can lose someone without losing his identity. If a woman walks away, let her go with dignity. Not because you are weak, but because you are strong enough to stand without applause. What is meant to stay will never require you to shrink. What requires you to break yourself was never meant to last. Take this pain and turn it inward, not as blame, but as fuel. Build your body, build your discipline, build your purpose. Learn to regulate your emotions instead of outsourcing them. Become someone whose presence is calm because his foundation is solid. And one day, quietly, without effort, you'll notice something has changed. You no longer chase validation. You no longer fear silence. You no longer lose yourself to be loved. And that is when life begins to respond differently. Not because you demanded respect, but because you finally embodied it. If this message spoke to you, don't just like the video, reflect on it. Share it with a brother who's struggling in silence. And subscribe, not for motivation, but for truth. Stay grounded. Stay disciplined. Stay whole.